These guys who are saying, oh my God, this bill is such a mess, XYZ, this is terrible, but then they vote for it. It's like, what the fuck was the point of telling us that you know it's bad?
This is Lisa Murkowski. She said after she casts the vote, she hopes the House makes the bill better because she doesn't think it's done. It's like, well, why didn't you vote for it? Why didn't you wait till just tomorrow? Like, what is wrong with these people?
Hey everyone, I'm Cameron Kasky.
And I'm Tim Miller. This is FY Pod, where I get insulted by Gen Zs who tell me what things are really like these days. I want to ask Cameron, you mostly today, about the new data coming out showing that I guess your peers in New York City took a break from vaping and playing video games to turn out to vote for Zoran Mamdani. And I want to go through that data with you. But before we do that, we have some breaking news. We're taping this afternoon, and the big, beautiful bill has passed thanks to Lisa Murkowski. What do you know about Lisa Murkowski, Cameron?
I know that she's just kind of like a spurious, faux compassionate politician who likes to pretend that she adheres to some sort of real conservative values, but at the end of the day, the values do not prevail. Is that the right read?
It's not too bad. It's not too bad. She's an interesting character, and I was just thinking about this video today. I was talking about it with Tyler downstairs. And I was like, I think we're going to talk about it because, like, in many of our other videos, we have actual experts like Jonathan Cohn talking about, how this bill is going to hurt people on Medicaid and SNAP and who use various other programs, how we're going to cancel the building of green energy plants in red states for some reason. That's a conservative obligation. So rather than get into the policy, I kind of want to talk about feelings with you, because Lisa Murkowski is the deciding vote on this today. She decides that because she gets some sort of carve out for the Alaskans, where they don't get quite as many Medicaid cuts, that's good enough for her. I don't know, maybe they got some whaling benefits or some other little goodies. So I was downstairs talking with Tyler about this. He was reminding me about this clip where Lisa Murkowski was like crying about like how worried she is and the threats and the danger of the MAGA voters that might come after her. And as I was thinking about the fact that she was going to be the decisive vote for this awful bill today, I was like, I thought, Cameron, you're in touch with your feelings. I thought we'd get your take on this. I want to pull back up this video from just a couple months ago of Lisa Murkowski in Alaska bemoaning how tough it is to be a senator right now.
What do you have to say to people who are afraid, or who represent people who are afraid? We are all afraid. Okay. That's what I'm saying. But we are, we're in a time and a place where I don't know, I certainly have not been here before. And I'll tell you, I'm oftentimes very anxious.
Is this reason?
About using my voice.
Yeah. Since the election.
Because retaliation is real. And that's not right. But that's what you've asked me to do. And so I'm going to use my voice to the best of my ability. And sometimes it will be viewed in a way that, well, that's pretty confrontational. And other times it's going to be using my mother's charm that I learned as a young girl, and in direct communication with those that I made.
My mother's charm that I learned as a young girl.
To affect some change that way. But I've got to figure out how
Okay. This is enough. This whole fucking performative bullshit that I just have to hear from these Republican members of Congress. It's like, there's going to be retaliation and people might come for me and it's hard. It's really hard. And then she folds. She votes for this bill that is going to increase 100 bazillion% the amount of money going to ICE detention centers.
But I think you need to be holding space for the fact that she is using her mother's charm that she learned as a young girl. If I was watching like a vampire movie and a comely young maiden was being handed off to some 600-year-old count, I imagine her evil parents who are doing it for money would whisper to her, use your mother's charm that you learned as a young girl. That's fucking creepy, dude. Cultural conservatism is so fucking creepy. Oh my, keep your fucking mother's charm to yourself. Where was your mother's charm that you learned as a young girl when you were delivering that little speech? Because that was so flaccid and pathetic. Obviously, the Big Beautiful Bill is also bad, but 0 stars on performance, Lisa Murkowski. Jesus Christ. I wish we could have watched the video at like 1.5 speed.
Yeah, you need though the pain. You need to suffer with her. Like, you need to suffer because she is trying to project that she's suffering, but she's not. She's a Nepo baby. She's a daughter of a politician. She gets elected in Alaska, and they're going to put through this fucking awful bill that's going to cause myriad harms to real people, and she becomes the final vote for it months after doing this whole sob story about how, I'm going to still use my voice, even though people are going to come for me. It's like, it's all such phony. It's bad. You're right. It's bad acting, and it's extremely phony and disheartening.
Let me ask you, Tim, as an expert on politics, Republicans, people, what do you think is the psychology of being a Republican politician and voting for something like this, but going on to be like, just so you guys know, I know it's bad. Like these guys who are saying, oh my God, this bill is such a mess. XYZ, this is terrible. But then they vote for it. It's like, what the fuck was the point of telling us that it's bad?
This is Lisa Murkowski. She said after she casts the vote, she hopes the House makes the bill better because she doesn't think it's done. It's like, well, why didn't you vote for it? Why didn't you wait till just tomorrow? Like, what is wrong with these people? Here's the psychology. They see themselves as being part of a team, and they want to defend the team. I know this goes against your nature because you're a contrarian, but some of these guys want to defend the team. It's tribal. That's an element of it. It's also a desire. They want to be important and feel important and you can't really do that if you go against Trump too harshly. You've heard some of these guys say this, like you become Jeff Flake or Adam Kinzinger or Liz Cheney, people that I greatly admire, but who are, hanging out at their house a lot these days. Adam's got a great Substack. People should sign up for that. Liz and Flake, they don't, they're not, their phone isn't ringing off the hook anymore, right? And they want that. Like, they want to be in the mix. They want to feel like they're important. And I think that like social high school cafeteria stuff drives this. And a bunch of people are going to suffer because, Lisa Murkowski, wants to feel like she is in the room where it happened. See what I did there?
Well, okay.
My first musical reference of the pod.
Theater, Tim Miller. Okay, 2 things. Number 1, everybody, comment down below what musical you want Tim Miller and I to talk about next week. Whichever one wins, I'm going to get Tim to watch in full.
Or comment down below and tell us why you think Lisa Murkowski is the way she is. Explain the psychology of this person.
So,
you like yours
do you think
more?
there's a degree
I'm not
to
going to
which
watch a musical, though, is the problem. I'm not going to.
Yes, you will, and we'll watch one together, and I'll get Toulouse playing the music every single morning when you're driving her to school. So I don't want to keep picking this apart too much, but do you think there's a degree to which they think they're like playing for the team even harder by coming out and talking shit about it? Like, do you think they think they're like, oh man, I'm willing to point out the flaws in this, but look, I'm still voting for it, and that makes me more of a team player than any of you motherfuckers.
I would psychoanalyze them this way. I think it's more the opposite. Like, they want to, it's not working, but they like want to signal to the other people in their life. They're like, I'm not one of the crazy ones. Okay. Right. Like, I'm just going along with this. I'm not, I'm not Marjorie Taylor Greene. Okay. I understand it's got some flaws and we want to fix it, but like, I'm not a socialist. I think it's that these people are in very closed social environs, and I don't know. I mean, it is. I think the good news is that this is going to be a political disaster for them.
Well,
so that's
speaking of which, you talked about Gen Zs early in the episode and how we all turned out to vote in New York City. But I want to talk about another thing that's important to me, which is that a lot of Zoomers I know do not know what the fuck this bill is. And I think that it's one of those examples of something in MAGA world, in Trump world, being so jam-packed with awful that it's hard to communicate how much awful there is in it. Because if you, even in 5 bullet points, explain the things that are in this bill to somebody, I think it's just too much to wrap your head around. This is just pure fucking evil. And I think we say that about a lot of things, so it might lose its effect when you're using it to describe something like the big fucking disaster bill. I talked to Zoomers about this, and there's an awareness that Trump has some big unpopular bill right now, but I don't think people know how devastating that type of thing is. And I think that this is an important thing for us to look at while we are looking at Zoran's youth voter turnout, because you've got 2 different sides of this. You've got Gen Z showing up way more than people expected. And then you have Gen Z looking at something like this devastating bill and not knowing what the fuck to do.
All right, are you ready? We're going to do it right now. Zoomers, are you watching? Here's what's in this bill. 1, it extends the Trump tax cuts for the rich. 2, it has a tax handout for old people. It's like a special little write-off for old folks because they couldn't get their Social Security tax repeal through. 3, it has no tax on tips. If some of you are on tips, maybe you like that part. 4, massive cuts to Medicaid, massive cuts to SNAP. What's SNAP? That's food stamps. Okay, they're going to do that. Number 5, they're going to build a ton of new ICE detention centers. That's exciting. Number 6, they're going to stop building all of the clean energy plants that was in the Biden bill that you guys didn't pay attention to. And most importantly, number 7, there's going to be a sculpture garden. We're funding a sculpture garden of people that Donald Trump thinks are heroes. So that the sculpture garden is coming in and healthcare for poor people is going out. They're not funding immigration judges. So like think about what that means, Cameron. They're going to spend a ton of fucking money to build new ICE detention centers. But they're not spending any more money to expand judges when there's already a huge backlog. So that means they're just planning on grabbing people off the street, throwing them into detention centers, and being like, you can hang out there, and we'll deal with due process later. That is literally what they're planning on doing.
I didn't even know about the sculpture garden, but what I have noticed is that that is one of the things a lot of Republicans are turning to right now when people are pushing back on them and saying, what the fuck did you just vote for? You get people like J.D. Vance and Ted Cruz coming out and being like, listen, you can focus on all this other bullshit, but this bill was about getting these ICE detention centers.
Yeah.
Are you seeing this?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, JD literally sent a tweet that was like, the other stuff doesn't matter. That's like, well, why didn't you just fund the ICE detention centers?
Including Alligator Alcatraz, which we have a whole video on it going up on the FY Pod spinoff channel. You could take a look.
I'm excited. Who'd you do it with? Who'd you talk to?
With me. I didn't
you solo? Florida man talking about?
Anybody else. I didn't need anybody else. I went on a fucking rant about the depravity of it. I'm going to go on a mini version of that rant here, although you can go to the FY Pod channel, which will be linked in our description for the full rant. Alligator Alcatraz, to me, is MAGA 2.0 in a nutshell. It is completely unnecessary. It is a multifaceted disaster. Not only is it a violation of human rights, not only is it an absolutely disgusting and, in many ways unconstitutional, abhorrent disaster, it's also an environmental mess. People who are native to that land and that area are talking about the ecology of it and how building a fucking ICE detention center right there in the Everglades is bad for the environment. Not that anybody who would support fucking Alligator Alcatraz cares about the environment, but it goes to show that this is bad for a lot more reasons than just the human rights violations. But really what gets me is the alligators. I don't know if you saw, Dante will throw this up on the screen. DHS tweeted out an AI picture of an alligator wearing like an ice hat. Yeah, because they're fucking memers now, because they post memes, the memes that you see on Reddit that make you say, oh my God, Gen Z is absolutely fucked. That's just our government now. Like the government posts online like your Gen Z relative who you have to call your aunt about to make sure that everyone's checking in on him, making sure he's all right. And they post this AI shit. They love AI. The new MAGA world loves AI. It represents stealing from other people to create something that's entirely unoriginal. MAGA in a nutshell. And it's the alligators that they love. They don't love cleaning up the streets. They don't love the idea of freeing up American jobs. They don't love the stuff that they ran on with illegals. They love the idea that a human being can get fucking ripped to pieces by a fucking alligator if they go against what Donald Trump wants them to do. It is exciting to them. It is the fucking Colosseum at the end of Rome when people were indulging in human violence, when people were looking at violence and gore and saying, oh, this is fun. You know, this is the decadent shit that represents how powerful and strong our society is. Alligator Alcatraz, AI images of it, the parties that they're throwing about the idea of illegals getting fucking eaten by alligators. It's just depravity. It's just the moral decline of America embodied.
They're selling fucking T-shirts. They're selling fucking T-shirts, and supposedly they're claiming that like the Florida website where they're selling the T-shirts is like
famous homosexual, famous alleged self-admitted homosexual Benny Johnson posted a selfie wearing an Alligator Alcatraz hat. There was just fucking merch, all on the idea.
It's very Christian of him. He also does Christian rallies with TPUSA people. This is exactly what Jesus would have worn.
And it's just so important that to note that the focus on the alligators is not a focus on stopping crime. It's not a focus on, they like the idea that someone's going to get fucking ripped apart by an alligator. That is what's exciting to them. If you go against Donald Trump, fucking alligators can rip you up. And it's just like considered normal. It's like, that's just the government now. It's not just the fringes of the MAGA base, right? Who, if they were saying this in 2017, people would have been up in arms about it. No, this is like the establishment of the United States right now is literally going like, LOL alligators, here's an AI about it. And they can all go fuck themselves and get eaten.
Did you ever encounter an alligator while you were in Florida?
In Parkland, Florida, if it rains enough, everyone lives on a lake. The boundary between the lake and the grass gets a little murky, and the alligators get a little bit less a sense of where the lake stops and where Cameron trying to fucking walk to school in the morning starts. So on a really rainy day, you can just see an alligator fucking chilling on the way to your high school that will eventually get shot up. And it's just nuts because they're scary as fuck. Alligators are fucking terrifying. Crocodiles are I'm not going to get into crocodiles. That's another episode.
Okay.
But no, in Florida, you get a lot of alligators.
I'll tell you this. Cameron, you probably didn't agree very much with Jeb Bush when it comes to tax and abortion policy and some other things. But Jeb Bush, when he was governor of Florida, spent a lot of money on Everglades renewal and manatees. So, back in the day, you could do that. You could be for both. Not anymore. Not anymore. You'd have to totally go fully all in on anti-environment, cruelty to migrants. It's all part of the same package. I wanted to talk to you about, I've got to give shouts out to Jeb where I can these days. It's pretty bleak out there for my people.
Jeb, come on the show. Tim is going to be away next week.
Jeb, Bill Crystal, and Cam. That could happen. We'll see. I'll send him an email. I want to talk about the youth showing up. There's a meme going around that was wrong that showed that 18 to 24-year-olds were the biggest turnout in the New York City mayor's race. And our boy that you also had on the FY Pod page, shout out to that page. Go check it out. Laksha Jain, who is, I think, Generation Z's smartest Zoomer. He's very, very nerdy. He's in the numbers. He knows the numbers. He posted this, like the actual data. The actual data, the real data shows pretty significant turnout among the youth as well, just not quite as much as kind of the rumored fake news was. The biggest turnout groups were 25 to 29 and 30 to 34. These are all in like 5-year chunks. And then after that, 35 to 39. So my millennials start to get into play here. And then some old people, and then the 18 to 24s are kind of in the middle of the pack. Not great turnout for 85 plus. I don't know what that says about society. Heat wave. Yeah. Not great turnout also for the Gen Xers, 50 to 55. Low turnout for you. So anyway, I'm just curious, like kind of what you made of that. And we've had a lot of discourse about this, about kind of what was it about Zoran. I think it's interesting that we have like some real data here that shows quite strong turnout, particularly for the 20-somethings, and not too bad for the total youngs.
Two things. Number one, I would like everybody to ask themselves, what have I seen the Democrats talk about more in the past week? Zoran Mamdani, or the political assassination that just happened, and the funeral that the President of the United States skipped while he did go to the opening of Alligator Alcatraz. I've seen a lot of Democrats talking about Zoran. I've seen a lot of Democrats calling Zoran into question. saying some serious things about Zoran, many of whom making allegations about Zoran. I haven't heard much about the big, beautiful bill in terms of messaging that is at least going to reach and resonate with Gen Z. And I haven't heard much about the political assassination, the Democratic lawmaker who got shot in their house.
Yeah, and two lawmakers got shot. Just one.
Two lawmakers got shot. One of them got killed. I haven't heard a lot of Democrats talking about that. I've heard so much about Zoran and about communist lettuce and about Zoran's language and his use of language. And I have not heard about politically motivated assassinations that just happened right here in the United States of America, as if we were some fucking country that is actually falling apart at the seams, which we are, but you know what I'm saying. So while we're in our Zoran discourse, I encourage you to reflect for a moment and say, have I talked to people about the big, beautiful bill while I'm talking about Zoran, the mayor of one city in this country? Have I talked to people about a Democratic lawmaker, multiple Democratic lawmakers getting fucking shot? Anyway, to the young people thing. Zoran's victory, you can attribute to all sorts of things, whether that's inspiring hope instead of cultivating fear. And telling people that we actually have a lot to be excited about instead of telling them, hey, we need to go back to some status quo that may or may not have been working for you. We could talk about how Zoran was very clearly running on affordability, and whether you like all the different ways he tackles this issue, you knew what he was running on, which was affordability. But, you know, these things don't address the fact that it's not just about him winning. And it's not just about how much he won by. It's about how many young people showed up to support. And I think it just really goes to this idea that Zoran represents a young person standing up and trying to chart a new path forwards instead of being one of the politicians who's constantly telling us that the old path was actually working and we just need to keep trying it again.
Were you surprised? Like, I guess it's like hard, you know, because sometimes it's like hard to tell, like getting outside of your bubble, like where, you know, like just by the degree to which like there was a turnout spike, or were you kind of sensing it?
Okay, dead ass. Like yeah. I could tell you some fucking fairy tale about how I expected it all along. Ooh, I knew this was going to happen, or like, oh, woe is me. I was so surprised. The truth is, my takes on elections are so fucking bad. I thought Cuomo was going to win decisively in the first round, like until basically we found out that Zoran won by a ton.
Yeah. I thought if we actually got the final numbers today, he ended up with it. If you count everything through, ended up with 12-point victory, 12%, like a really
So I thought that Cuomo was going to smack Zoran until like 6:30 p.m. that night. I thought that Kamala Harris was going to defeat Donald Trump until Donald Trump won Georgia, which for those of you who are not election nerds, and weren't, you know, sitting on camera all day that day like Tim was, I held out pretty long for Kamala. I was telling people, no, guys, she's going to win, pretty much when everybody else had already given up.
If only we were pals back then, I could have let you off the hook. I sent Tyler a text and told him to take a sleeping pill and go to bed at like 9:58. I had it.
The truth is, I thought Zoran was going to lose by a lot, but but it's sort of, they say the best surprises in fiction. I'm not going to spoil it, but this is something that the creator of Succession said about the Succession finale. The best surprises in fiction are not the ones that make us say, how did this happen? They're the ones that make us say, how didn't we see this all along? And when Zoran won like that, I went, duh. Because he is what so many young people have been looking for, which is a young person who wants to go up and challenge an establishment that really hasn't been working for us. An establishment that is now mobilizing harder to fight Zoran than they are to mobilize people against the big, beautiful bill.
You know, I had thoughts, but that was really great. So I'm just going to kind of let your take close out the show. I thought that was like extremely insightful. A good little Succession clip. I thought you were cooking with that. I think that's right. And I could quibble about a couple things, but we could do that another episode. I want to shout out one of our first guests was a young woman named Deja Fox. Speaking about somebody taking on the establishment and the status quo, she's running for an open seat in Arizona for Congress. Her opponent is a Nepo child of the deceased former congressperson. Nothing against I don't really know a lot about the deceased former congressperson, if I'm being honest. Was probably a good person.
You saw the Nepo child was using like the email lists or something of the deceased parent.
It's just like getting some fresh blood in there. Deja and I are certainly probably not going to agree on all the vicissitudes of the capitalist system, but she is spunky.
Deja's not really like that. Deja's like kind of lax. She's not like a
no. I just meant that like if we went down a checklist of all the issues, I'm sure me and Deja would not be totally aligned. I mean, she like her origin story. People should go back and watch that episode. She's unbelievable. Her origin story about like having insecure housing and being passionate about women's reproductive rights. Anyway, it's just not my origin story. So we're different in various ways. But I loved her energy, and I think that's another example possibly of a young person like putting themselves on the line. And so I wanted to shout her out. Election in 2 weeks, some new polling coming out that showed she's narrowing the gap a little bit. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, or you want to take us out, Cameron?
Well, I want to take us out really by shouting out us,
Okay.
Cameron and Tim, because I see articles about 2 Gen Z female congressional candidates right now, Deja and Kat, both of whom are friends of the show. We're kind of like absolutely obliterating the mission of being the place for the Zoomers who have something to say to come say it.
Crushing it. I totally agree.
If you look up Gen Z female congressional candidate, like you're just going to be seeing friends of FY Pod. I don't know what to tell you. And I have a feeling that next time we get a new batch, we're going to be having all those people as well.
It's a must stop. The FY Pod couch. The virtual couch, the non-existent couch. It's a must stop, and we have to talk about vaping and bisexuality. And besides that, you can talk about your issues.
My closing statement will be, are you willing to reveal right now to the audience what will become of me when you're on vacation?
No, I am not. Everyone will have to come as a surprise. I'm on vacation next week, but we got one more episode before that. So everybody stick around for that. And, we'll see y'all then.
Thank you all for coming.
Slay.
Go Brewers.
Go Brewers.